Welcome to Divine Mission Podcast, where we share snippets of joy to uplift, inspire, and motivate you. I'm your host, Eva the Diva, and I am thrilled to bring you stories that transform everyday moments into profound experiences. Happy 2026. I just want to take a moment to thank you all for tuning in and supporting Divine Mission Podcast. It is a calling, it is a product of being inspired, and I want to thank you for taking time to listen to any content we have out there, for liking our content, for sharing it, and for even subscribing to any of our social media platforms. I really appreciate you, and I don't take your support for granted. This is the first episode of 2026, and I'm grateful to be here. 2025 was a year to behold, and life is not like a movie where you get to fast forward, skip forward, rewind. In real time, we have to live out each and every day of the year. And for that, I am grateful, humbled, and just lucky to be here. So, the first episode of 2026 will be about soft power. I want to discuss how we can redefine power in 2026. And I feel like we call it soft power because we are not hard about anything anymore. We have to learn to be fluid. We have to be malleable to the conditions life throws at us. And so let's discuss leadership, because I feel like something is shifting. There's a soft-like conversation that dominated 2024 and 2025. I believe it's evolving, and we're not abandoning rest. We are using rest in every aspect of life. So, like putting it into operation. The rise of integrated leadership. In 2026, I see African women not choosing between ambition and well-being, but practicing both together. And this is what I call integrated leadership. This looks like in real time and in specific examples would be like strategic boundaries. Say, for example, you're a founder in a company in Lagos and you automatically decline meetings scheduled after 6 p.m. or before 9 a.m. in your calendar settings. You communicate your working hours without negotiation, and your deep work blocks are non-negotiable. And that's with strategic boundaries. When you delegate a strategy, say for example, you're a Nairobi-based fashion brand owner who has a virtual assistant in Ghana to handle customer service and a CFO in South Africa via platforms that allow you to hire people through remote work, freeing yourself to focus solely on design and major partnerships. When you look at getting more impact over visibility, say for example, you're based in Malawi, you're an agri-tech CEO who skips a high-profile international conference to host a critical product feedback session with the women smallholder farmers in your cooperative, prioritizing tangible impact over passive visibility. So those are examples where you can practice integrated leadership. Leadership is no longer measured by how tired you are, but by how resilient and effective your systems are. Another way to look at it is vulnerability as a leadership strategy. The Iron Lady archetypes are retired. In boardrooms across the world, strategic vulnerability is a new power move. This is not oversharing, it's tactical trust building. For example, if you're in technology, you're a CTO in Cairo and you open a product launch review by stating how your initial user testing showed, 40% drop off at a specific feature, and own the failure. And then you offer 3 pivots that the team engineered, and then you present to your colleagues, looking for input on what strategy to pursue. So this frames a setback as a collective problem-solving opportunity. Say, for example, you're in finance, where a venture capital partner hosts a quarterly lesson learned fireside chat for her portfolio founders, sharing a deal she passed on that later became a major competitor and the flawed assumption that led to her decision. It's not just about celebrating when we win. It's also sharing the lessons from when we lose. Say you're in government. You're a minister who publicly shares key metrics where a policy initiative is underperforming ahead of quarterly reviews, inviting collaborative solutions from your team and the public, thereby building credibility and preempting criticism. So, a winning leader can say, this is where we fell short. Now let's build the solution together. I know it's like I am in La La Land, but I believe that these scenarios are very realistic to what women in leadership face today. I believe there are specific examples out there of women having taken this approach. I just don't want to name names right now, but this is more about tactics that we can use for employing vulnerability as a leadership strategy. It doesn't have to be hard. The days of the Margaret Thatcher helmet head and handbag on the table archetype are outdated and do not serve well in the long term. The other option is Pan-African coalition power, right? So ambition is no longer siloed. Power is being rebuilt through intentional cross-border ecosystems. The United States just sanctioned the arrest of the Venezuelan president and his wife. And this is not the first time the US has acted in a way that was clearly self-serving. And we're not saying that the leaders who are abducted and imprisoned were perfect by any means. But this is not the way for the world as a whole to deal with problematic leaders. We need solutions that involve more than one party so that these situations are not resolved in a way that's self-serving at the expense of the people left behind, right? And so, having said that, coalition power, right? I have some examples of situations that we've witnessed where people are coming together to solve for bigger issues, but they're not doing it alone. They are trying to create a coalition of like-minded people. For example, there's a coalition for capital that was called the Fearless Fund. And there's also a similar one called V2 Africa, where they co-launch a Pan-African funding tracker and syndicate deal flows, amplify their collective power to secure larger rounds of funding for women-led startups. Then there's also policy through partnership, where sustainability experts from, say, the African Climate Foundation can partner with women in agricultural research and network to co-author a continent-wide policy framework on climate resilient agriculture, backed by data from women farmers in, say, the African continent, right? So that's policy through partnership. There's also market access networks, where a collective group of women in, say, for example, film production, create a shared digital distribution platform to stream content directly to, say, for example, diaspora, bypassing traditional gatekeepers and sharing revenue, right? The future African women leader does not hustle harder in isolation. She networks. She integrates smarter solutions within a powerful and more integrated collective. So, how will you employ your soft power in 2026? Which tactics will you employ? Will you go through integrated leadership as an option? Will you look at vulnerability as a leadership strategy? Or will you form a coalition of the powerful to get solutions that work? Either way, what I wish for you is that you're successful in every endeavor that you seek to accomplish, and that you have the tools to do it as easily as possible and in an ecosystem that is supportive of you. This has been Diva on a Mission podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Please follow us on TikTok at doampod, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Diva on a Mission podcast. And if you have any feedback, want to send us notes or correspondence, send us an email at doampodcast@gmail.com. Have a happy and prosperous 2026. Peace.